Please, the show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
What is up, and welcome to another episode of the Voice of the Black and Gold, your go-to podcast for all things LAFC. And if you're new here, guys, make sure that you hit that subscribe button, give us a like, and hit that notification so you don't miss anything black and gold. And boy, do we have a show for you today. LAFC 5 straight wins, and this one wasn't as pretty as the other, but ugly wins are good wins. It shows that you can have diversity, you can have problems on the field, but still come out of a winner, and that's something that you need. Yes, we didn't want it to be so close at home, but we still got those 3 points, and an important 3 points because we're still in the race for the top of the West. So we're going to get a little bit into that. LAFC does play on Wednesday. We're going to talk a little bit about that, and then we have some news, some breaking news that we possibly have an idea of who our coach might be. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But fellas, LAFC, the first 83 minutes just didn't look like what we've seen the previous 4 games where they're scoring 3-4 goals a game, but nonetheless, they walk away with 3 points, Andrew.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about Atlanta. I know it's normally Guzan and it was their backup, but their goalkeeper always seems to have just one of their best games of the year whenever we play Atlanta. It's just absolutely insane. And I'm not saying like all of our shots were completely on target. We still look good, but there were just some unlucky kicks. I felt it could have been a little bit more, but it was a great atmosphere there last night.
Yeah, the atmosphere feels back to 2019, Will. You feel it in the TV. You hear the chants of the 32-52. The stadium is packed. And yet, look, going into BMO has always been a fortress. It didn't feel so much as a fortress for the first 83, but yet they still walk away with those crucial 3 points.
Yeah, I'm starting to think that the playing style might be back to 2019 here very soon. We'll see about that. We'll talk about why that could be possible a little later. But yeah, I mean, anytime you're winning and your team has exciting players, there's going to be energy. There's going to be excitement. Saw a lot of Korean fans there last night with their Sony jerseys on, excited to see him play in LA. And yeah, it just looks like I think there's a little bit of fatigue with the fan base with Dolo, and they kind of got bored with what they were seeing, and the results weren't meeting their expectations. But I think knowing that he's on his way out, and then what they've been able to do in the last couple games of his tenure, I just think the fans just feel like they're excited to see what happens next, and they're all in, at least with the players, right? Not with the coach, but just to see what happens, and they're excited to see what happens.
What do you think is fueling this streak? Is it tactics, chemistry, or leadership, Andrew? Now that we have Son in, you see Porteous is out there. He's being a leader. He reminds me, and this is going to be big for me to say, fellas, because y'all both know how I am about this one particular player that I'm about to say. He almost reminds me of a Collini back there. He does. He's constantly giving directions. I'm not saying that he is Collini defender. Don't get me wrong. Put words in my mouth, fellas. But what I am saying is how we always said that he was a general out there, Andrew, directing traffic, telling people where to go, constantly on their back saying, you're not doing good enough. You need to be here. You need to do that. That's what we really have been missing at the beginning of this season, and it's something that feels like we have there now that we need, and that he is filling that void that we have needed.
Yeah, I think it's leadership on the field. I mean, we're getting incredible mismatches now that just never existed before. So I don't know if it's related to tactics all that much, but there's a communication on the field that we just feel like a balanced team right now, and the chemistry's there. We've been saying it for a few weeks now. We're just getting hot at the right time.
Uh-oh, Andrew, baby, you got a fan in here today. That comment. Will, what's up, man? Is it the leadership? Is it the tactics? What is it?
I just think they have the superstar powers while they're playing. I say this all the time. They're winning in spite of Dolo ball. These guys are leading them up front, and I think that's what's happening, even when they're not playing well. We've talked about this. They're the only two guys that scored a goal in the last 5 matches. I think maybe even longer than that. It's been I can't remember the last person to score a goal, not named Denis or Sonny. I don't even know who it would be. Maybe David Martinez is the last guy to score a goal, not named those two guys. But I just think the quality is kind of carrying this team through bad coaching. And, I guess in this league, you can get away with bad coaching to a certain degree if you have the good enough players. That's what I would say. And as far as Porteous, of you saying that he kind of reminds you of Chiellini as a general, I would say he's as a general.
Oh, okay, Will, you just did the wording that I said don't do. I didn't say is Chiellini defending.
As a general, I said he reminds you as a general, though.
Okay,
Not as a quality.
okay.
You said he reminded him as a general. I just think he's a way better version of Aaron Long. Like, that's what I would just say. I just think he's better. He's just a better version. He's a Aaron Long can have good games, but he can also have some mistakes that kind of make you scratch your head like, oh my God, get this guy off the pitch. I just think that Porteous has been very consistent so far. And I do think the back five has really helped with that as well. But he's been good, man. I don't think people have been talking enough about how good of a signing he has been. And he's still young, and getting him from a championship team, I think that was a good under-the-radar signing. But I just think that the quality of the best players is why this team's able to win.
Yeah, for me, I agree with both of you. I think it's the leadership on there. From Son to Morin to Porteous, I really like what I'm seeing out there. I think when we talk about Morin and when we talk about Porteous, I believe that those are, as Will just said, underrated signings. I think JT went out and did an absolutely fantastic job there, and we don't get to talk about them enough because we have such a big icon within Son, and they get overlooked a little bit. Is it fair? Probably not. But, look, I remember when my general, Mr. Chiellini, came in and he goes, look, they're gonna be the flashy, but we're gonna win the championships. And I remember him talking about how defense wins, and that is a good point. And look, Aaron Long did really well for us, and I think that's a good shout out. He might be a better type of Aaron Long, but I'm not going to sleep on Aaron Long. I thought he did well for LAFC while he was he's just hurt right now, but he wore the captain's band and stuff like that. But I'm loving what I'm seeing right now from the guys. And to mention Hugo, we got to talk about Hugo because he also broke another record for LAFC. He's been absolutely fantastic, and we have a little piece that we are going to talk about him on. He said Atlanta had parked the bus for 87 minutes. That's not true. I mean, they definitely did, and LAFC was doing everything they possibly could to try to get in there. They just couldn't. And to Will's point a minute ago, no one else has scored except for those two. Hollingshead almost had that header, and what I thought was perfect at the end of the game, Son was giving Hollingshead a little bit of banter, being like, yo, you can't score. And Hollingshead was like, oh my God, dude, so he was bagging him a little bit on that, Will, saying, come on, we needed that header. So what does it mean to clinch the home field advantage for the first round in the playoffs, Andrew? I mean, that's a pretty big deal, and that's what we clinched with winning this game.
I think it's huge. It can really set our tempo and the trajectory of our playoffs. So I love to have that opportunity.
Will said BMO Stadium being a fortress. Round one, now you got a home game. This is what we were talking about on one of the shows that I did with you, is how important it is that LAFC tries to get as many games as they can at BMO Stadium. Well, LAFC now has the first game at BMO.
Yeah, I mean, it's important to get as many home games as you can in the playoffs, just because you obviously have a better chance at winning or advancing the playoffs if you're hosting, right? So that is cool that they are going to host the first round, whoever they end up playing. But I think that they still have their eyes set on being the first seed in the Western Conference. And that's what their ultimate goal is, because then you host every single game in the Western Conference, right? It has all the entire Western Conference playoffs has to go through BMO Stadium. Has to go through BMO Stadium, and that's important. I think it is important. It's hard, like you said, with the fans, like Andrew who goes to the games or Tony who goes to the games, that they have to go there and beat these guys who's a good team in front of their home fans who are going to be loud, who are going to be proud, and who are going to make it very tough on the opposing team.
Yeah, just like our buddy here, Craig, flying all the way across the pond. He says, yo, guys, I'm on the border gate at LAX waiting to fly out. Shout out to Andrew. Andrew, you have all the people talking to you today, man. You're getting all the love. You are getting all the love over here.
I'll take it.
Yeah, you should. And, look, it was cool to see the pictures of you and Craig. Craig has been around the VOBG since the start of it. Just a little back story on him, Will. He's one of the first 4 people that was on Spaces with me when we started on X, back then Twitter Spaces, and he was one of the first 4 guys that I talked to about LAFC and has been around ever since then. He got to fly over and come to a game. He tries to a couple times a year, and he got to hang out with Andrew and Tony and a bunch of the LAFC faithful, so that's pretty cool. How confident are you guys in LAFC heading into the playoff compared to this time last year, Andrew?
A lot more comfortable. Yeah, we were still trying to figure out if, Giroud needed more time or kind of that was the big concern, really. And of course it didn't work out. I think it's as good of a scenario as it could have been a year later with Dolo leaving, with Sony, with the way the team is playing. I had thought we were going to have to face Carson in the playoffs last year. It's what I thought the Western Conference Final was going to be. So that game was a little shocking to that loss to Seattle in the playoffs last year in the semifinals for the Western. That hurt. But it was realistic, and we knew it wasn't as good of a team as we had in the past that was championship. So I feel great about this team. I think it's championship caliber. For what MLS is, I still don't think anyone will be able to stop us.
I mean, the confidence is real, and I feel like it should be, Will. I mean, with the way that we're seeing, to be able to win ugly against Atlanta, I mean, all the momentum is behind LAFC to go to the playoffs, make it to the final, and hopefully win that thing.
Yeah, and I want to say one thing too, real quick about Giroud, because you asked if we, what's the confidence level in LAFC versus last year.
Yeah,
and I want to say that one thing about that you can tell quality of a player is that even though Giroud is a great player, or he has been throughout his career, you can just see the difference between a player if they can make an impact by themselves without a system, without a formation, without a player to set them up. Like, there's tiers to this, right? And it's no disrespect because I like him. I've always liked Olivier Giroud. But you see Sony come here and he just makes difference. He makes a difference himself. He's the one that just kind of makes something out of nothing. And you can just tell that the qualities of player, right? There's a lot of players that have failed Major League Soccer because they needed something to get them going. And he's the guy who gets things going. So I just want to say that real quick. And that's the reason why I think this team has a better shot in 2025 than they did 2024. Guys, last year, this team was lost. This team was winning, and they got lucky in a lot of games, but make no mistake about it, they struggled to score. They had an identity crisis, and they didn't really know where to go. Their striker they had signed wasn't able to score goals. Denis Bouanga, has had this reputation of disappearing in big games. And then obviously Dolo's tactics are very stubborn. This year, even with the tactics being questionable, they have guys who can prevail and lead this team to a final. I mean, I honest to God might think Sony might be the best player in MLS right now. I'm not even joking. I think he might be the best player in Major League Soccer. He might be better than Messi at this point. And if you have a player of that quality, anything is possible.
When he says that, I just get smiles and chicken bumps. It's like, I really do. David, I'm not ignoring you. Is the gossip true? Tata Martinez to LAFC. We are going to talk about that later on in this episode. But before we do that, we got to talk a little bit about the game that we just had. And, look, Bouanga has now 99 career goals for LAFC. What does goal number 100 mean for his legacy, Andrew?
I don't think it completely shifts it. I don't. He's on a very upward trajectory. Regardless, that 100 goals either going to come Wednesday or it's going to come the next game that he plays after that. So it's exciting. It's a milestone mark. I think after passing Vela, it's just kind of all it's all extra. It's all gravy at this point. I don't think it's going to make him any more legendary than what we already know. It's going to be maybe 150 plus, but in 2 years, and we'll see how it is from there. But I just think he's a legend regardless.
No, Will, that's a great point. After he passed Vela, there is no more to really add to it. It could be 100, it could be 150. We're always going to say how great of a player he was because he passed Vela and took the the passing of the torch is what we referred it to as plenty of times here on VOBG. But it's just how much more he's adding for someone to have to eventually catch up, which most likely will take many years for that to be passed in LAFC history.
Well, the team is still very young. I mean, they haven't even played 10 years yet. So being the first player to hit 100 goals, career goals for the club is very impressive because that's the first to ever do it. But, to Andrew's point, it doesn't matter about that. At the end of the day, I mean, I think his career is going to be defined on how many trophies he brought to this club. And I do think that there's going to be more in his career as long as he's at LAFC. Like, it's not done. I think they could win several different trophies before he, either calls it quits or ends up leaving LAFC at some point. Yeah, I mean, listen, accolades are nice. Setting, breaking records or setting records are cool, but man, it's all about the trophies. It's all about the trophies. That Carlos Vela season we always talk about, 34 goals, 15 assists, was incredible to watch, but it would have hit a lot harder if they were able to capitalize with a MLS Cup trophy that season.
No, very true, very true. 10 goals, 6 games, and then is this the best form of Bouanga's MLS career, Andrew?
Yeah, I mean, just with Sonny by default, I believe so. He just opened something up, but Vela was a different player by the time Bouanga and him really got to be on the field together. So I do think this is the best he's looked, but this is the least amount he's had to work for goals. If that makes sense, he's not being triple teamed right now, and he very much could have scored a second goal, right before the game ended there. That was right in front of our seats, and you could see it, and it was just like, it was there for him, but not the worst problem in the world to have.
No, I mean, very unselfish. And, we were on the show last night and people were saying how he's still a selfish player, this and that. And I was trying to explain, that was one of the most unselfish things that he actually did, Will, what do you think? Is this the best form of career? I mean, now we have 20, but he's still running up on that 20.
I don't know. I thought 2023 Bouanga was pretty damn good. I think it's more of I think that his job is easier now because he has a player that's this good. So I don't think this is the best version we've seen. I just think this is the easiest that he's had it since he's been here because Bouanga's had to play a lot of hero ball in his time at LAFC. He's had to do a lot of things. They've asked him to do a lot of things, because like we've said, Carlos Vela was never really in his prime playing next to Bouanga. That 2022 season, I think, is when Vela really started to decline. And then 2023, I think, was his last full season, if I'm not mistaken, right? And then 2024, he signed halfway through the end of the year. I get the timeline mixed up a little bit. But, I just don't think we ever got to see Bouanga play with a quality player. Obviously not as good as Son Heung-Min, but just anyone really that good in the attack. So Mighty Bogusz was good, but let's be honest, he was young, and it's a little different than playing with a polished player that's, in their actual prime, the best form we've seen in the quality of a player like that. So no, I don't think this is the best version, but this is the easiest he's ever had it.
Well, to your point right there, I just told you guys 10 goals in 6 games. He now is tied with Messi at 24 goals for the Golden Boot race. Imagine that. In 6 games, he got 10 goals to finally match Messi. So that means 10 games ago, he wasn't even really in the race. And then, boom, now after those 6 games, he's now tied for the Golden Boot race, and in my opinion, has the best chance to walk away as the Golden Boot winner. Andrew, what do you think about that?
I do. I think now that he's there, I absolutely love it. I think it's in sight. I think he feels it. Even Sony touched on it in his post-game interview, just score it next time we have a Golden Boot to win. So, I think the team's going to rally around him. I think if he's there, Dolo will give him the minutes to try and figure this out. And yeah, I think it'll be good for us. I think he'll get it.
Will?
It's going to be close. It's going to come down to decision day. I think obviously has a really good chance of doing this because Sam Surridge, Messi, and Denis Bouanga are all going to play one game to decide this. Nashville only has 1 game left. He's got 23 goals. Messi's got 1 game left because he's missing a game. 24 goals, and Denny's always got 24 goals. We'll just have to. I think it really is a coin flip, but I do think there's a good chance he does win it, just because Messi's kind of a one-man show in Miami right now, and the guy that's feeding Denis Bouanga is pretty damn good.
Yeah, he definitely is, and I don't think he's going to be taking the shots. I think he's going to be looking to feed as opposed to getting it for himself, and that's only going to help. David's trying to call us out, so we might as well show it. He says, you people were calling Denis Bouanga selfish just a few weeks ago, and I would say that was way before his son got here. I don't think any of us have called him selfish since son has been here, and the reason being is because, as we all just said, he didn't have the talent around him, so he felt as if he had to do it all on his own, would be my personal opinion. I think that you've seen the unselfishness of him yesterday when he should have took the shot. No question about it. He should have took that shot because he's seen Son way too late. And instead of passing, you hit that shot. Now you're ahead for the Golden Boot race with that 1 goal, with that 1 game left. So I believe that Denis had more pressure on him before Son got here, and which made him have to do things that were more seen as selfish. And that would just be my my rebuttal to that. Anybody have anything to say about that before we move on, Andrew?
No, I've never wavered on my love for Bouanga. He's great. I've been the one in here explaining to everyone who was new that that's our shooter. So you know.
Will, you have something to say about that?
Well, David says Denis comes up clutch again. I disagree with that. I don't think he's been clutch in big games yet. I want to see what he does in the playoffs. He's a very good regular season player, but I want to see him do big things in the playoffs, and I'm going to stick to that until he does something. But no one's ever questioned his skill or if he's a good player. It's just more about opportunities he's missed or where he hasn't came up big enough when this team has relied on him in the past.
I agree with that. And I definitely think he's going to come up clutch because he is going to have someone that's going to be able to feed him, or he is going to be able to feed, and we are going to absolutely see them eat, which puts me into my next part. What makes this partnership with Son so lethal? I mean, they have now combined 18 goals since Son has been here. What makes that partnership so lethal, Andrew?
I just think the freedom that they create for each other, it's a mismatch. It's a nightmare for defenses. There isn't anything else like it in the league.
Will? Are you paused? Is he frozen?
I think so.
Oh, he might have froze. Okay. Wow, he really froze on us. I think he had something good to say too. I think he was really ready to hit us with that one, and then he froze up on me. So Hugo got his 10th clean sheet, Andrew. It's the new record for LAFC. How impressed are you with what he has done this year?
I'm very impressed. For as much of a liability as our defense has been, through injuries or just not being our strongest part of our game, he's really shown up. And there's some games that we won, these little 1-0 games where they could have gone the other way real quick if it wasn't for Lloris. His leadership, everyone kind of ragged on him, that he was a little older, that he doesn't dive for this, or he's not trying. And the guy's a veteran. He knows if he's gonna if he dives, if he's gonna stop something or not. But he's been a dog in that goal. He has complete command. It's better, I think, for what he's getting paid. But that was one of those signings that it worked out as good as it could have. I hope he stays at least one more year.
Absolutely. Will, you left me hanging there. I thought you were thinking, and then I said, hold on. Is he really thinking that long? So I want to give you a chance to talk about what do you make of this partnership with Son, and what do you think that makes Son and Bouanga so lethal with their 18 goals since he's been here?
Yeah, I just think that you have two high-quality players in Major League Soccer, and I think they're bringing out the best of each other, and I think it has a lot to do with Son Heung-Min. Like, you talk about his unselfish play, rubbing off on Denis Bouanga, and having two good quality players. I just feel like they fit really well. They're in sync. They've got this chemistry right off the bat, and I just think that, sometimes it can take players a long time. Maybe they don't ever link up or have that type of chemistry, but I mean, they seem like they genuinely like each other. They genuinely like playing with each other, and they are the saviors of LAFC. Without them, this boat would sink.
No, 100%, except for Hugo Lloris. And I was just telling Andrew, he got his 10th clean sheet. He set a new record for LAFC. How impressed have you been with Hugo this year?
Very impressed with Hugo Lloris. A lot of people have been knocking him because he's a little older. Maybe his reflexes aren't as good as they were 10 years ago. But, I mean, he is almost 40. I think having him in goal gives these center backs a presence or a calmness because they have a World Cup winning goalkeeper. How many teams in the world have a World Cup winning goalkeeper as their starting goalie? There's not many of those going around. So I think having him back there gives him a strong presence. And I do think even though the back five has helped with the defensive mishaps we've seen earlier, that this has kind of helped solidify the back line. I think also having him back there directing, telling people to do, just knowing you have Hugo Lloris in goal gives you a sense of confidence. And yes, he does make some mistakes, but I still think he's incredible. And what they signed him for, I mean, he's underpaid.
Well, that goes back to the leadership that we were talking about earlier, gentlemen. And, look, when you look back at it, do you think that Hugo should be in the running for MLS Goalkeeper of the Year? Because this is why I'm going to ask you that. What does it say about LAFC that they have now went 256 minutes without conceding a goal, Andrew? So that's a two-part question right there, because I think that he should be in the running for the goalkeeper of the year. But having a 256 without conceding a goal, I mean, what does that say about the club, and about what he's doing behind the sticks?
Yeah, I think a lot of the Eastern Conference goalkeepers get more love than the Western Conference. I think he definitely should be in the running for it. I know everybody watches us or hate watches us. They've seen how good he is in goal. It's not some crazy far-fetched notion that Hugo Lloris it should be in the running for that. So I definitely do. It sucks when you see like the goalkeeper, or the goalkeepers of the week polls and stuff, and you don't see him on there when we had clean sheets, and it's frustrating. Maybe it's just because our defense just doesn't get pressed as much now that everybody's worrying about parking the bus for Sony and Bouanga. Yes, goalkeeper. What was the second part of the question?
Yeah, it was a long one. It was 256 minutes without conceding a goal.
Yeah, it's huge. I think that's also a testament to Porteous coming in as well, and having somebody else kind of anchor that back line. But it all starts with Hugo. There was that game where he had to come out for a half, where Hasal did his thing, kind of gave us a couple tense moments there. But I think it's a testament to Hugo.
I mean, Will, what do you got, man? I mean, again, 256 minutes without conceding a goal, and should he be in the running for goalkeeper of the year?
Yeah, he'll be top 3. I don't know if he'll win it. There's a lot of good goalkeeping play this year. Takioka for Vancouver has been really good. He's been one of the best goalkeepers in Major League Soccer, and a big reason why they've been as good as they have been this year. And then also Dane St. Clair in Minnesota, which is kind of funny. You would talk about, Andrew mentioned earlier about the Eastern Conference goalkeepers, but all the goalkeepers I name are Western Conference keepers. I honestly think that some of these Eastern Conference goalkeepers, Andrew, kind of have been screwed a little bit, because the quality is really good in the Eastern Conference, and some of these guys kind of get left on an island and maybe concede a lot, because it's just like an absolute, like a bar brawl in the Eastern Conference. But I do think that at the bare minimum, Hugo Lloris will definitely be a top 3 finisher in the goalkeeping or goalkeeper of the year race for sure.
I mean, I want him to. I think that he should. For me, the fact that it's 256 minutes without a goal is a big deal. I mean, it's a huge deal for LAFC. And again, that's something that John did to Will. What Will was saying, he's definitely underrated we got him for a price tag that, we're lucky to have him at. And I think that just shows you the type of business that JT has done. And, I think that we will see more of that to come. That's all I have for this portion of it. Do y'all want to add anything about the Atlanta game before we move on to the rumor mill of the coaching and stuff like that, Andrew?
No, I'm good. I don't want to nitpick it. We got a gritty win, and we're on to Wednesday.
You got to have a gritty win at times. You can't just be walking the boat too easy, because people are going to be like, you have to have that gritty win, Will, you want to add anything about the Atlanta game before we move on?
Yeah, the final thing I'll say, I forgot to mention this earlier, the one thing that really pissed me off with Dolo was that he didn't start Morin. I think he should have started. I don't know why he didn't. He seemed healthy to me. He's 21 years old. All the older guys are playing. I don't understand why they had to put Tillman in. I thought Tillman was the worst player on the pitch in the first half. I don't think he was good. I don't think he connected with anybody. And as soon as Morin came in the game, I mean, there was a couple things they changed, but when he came in the game and Smoljakov came in the game, it changed it. And I just don't know what the hell he was thinking by not starting Morin. I told you guys this a couple weeks ago. Morin might not be the best player on the field, but he is the X factor to this team winning an MLS Cup in 2025.
I agree with everything that Will just said. I want Morin to be a starter. I want Portis to always start. I want Smolskov to always start. I want, and I wrote this in our chat, I want Hollingshead to come on as a sub. It's just what I want. I believe that is a team that we have to run with. Look, I know a lot of people have bashed Tillman. I don't mind Tillman being in there with Morin, but if you can't have them both, then it has to be Tillman sit out. But we know that they have plans for Tillman, because he did just sign an extension for many years, just like Palencia did. And so he is going to be there. So I don't know if it's Delgado that needs to come off or whatever, but Morin has to be a starter. Andrew.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I will say for Tillman last night, it was pretty apparent whatever they're kind of doing with the midfield, or whatever that position he's playing is that right wing, but it's clearly not working. It's the one thing that's just not working in there. And you can see that because of Andrew Morin. You could see how it was. It was very apparent. I don't have anything against Tillman. It's just by process of who's on that field, and someone has to get left out. Like, it's going to be him. And if this team's ever going to be better in the midfield, it's going to be that he's a rotational player. It's not because he solidifies, I think, a spot in that starting 11. He's very inconsistent, but he's not awful. But whatever they were trying to work out with him doing, I don't know why. It's probably because we have a Wednesday game coming up, but the subs and lineup were a little weird last night. You know, it didn't make a lot of sense, but it's the end of the season. They have a game coming 3 days later, so we'll see what that lineup looks like. I'm not trying to get ahead of that Wednesday game, but still, I completely agree with Tillman.
David, we're finally getting to your question. Is the gossip true? Tata Martinez to LAFC. And all I have to say is I hope that this is true. Well, let me rephrase. I won't mind if this is the truth. I personally thought that we were going to get Curtin if we didn't get any big European coach. But I remember when Miami let Tata go, and I wrote in the chat, I wrote a tweet about it or a post about it and said, don't be surprised if LAFC goes after Tata. And now we are hearing that there is a great chance that could happen. One of the guys in the chat said, Nick, what you should do is you should get some Atlanta fans or some Miami fans to come on the show and talk about what they thought about Tata as a manager for the club. I think we might try to do that in one of the next previous or one of the upcoming episodes. But I'm interested to know what you guys think about that, Will and Andrew. Me, when I seen it, I was pretty excited. I know that this guy, he is a winner. He wins stuff. He won stuff with Atlanta. I know people are like, no, Nick, he lost here and he lost there. And some people are really bashing him. And you have to remind them, Atlanta was great with Tata, to be honest. And it was their best 2 or 3 years. And then to be fair, in Miami, he won stuff. Yes, he didn't win the MLS Cup, but he won other trophies and had them in all the finals. So I believe that he does a great job. Andrew, where do you stand on this?
I think he should get a little bit more credit for what he's done. I also think I mentioned it in our group chat earlier that whoever we sign, it's going to piss a lot of people off. Like whoever's going to end up being our coach, it's just how this fan base. Yeah. Exactly. And the people that, either want this real famous coach or go like, no, we need an all-time winning coach. Like every coach is lost somewhere. So some coach isn't going to leave their winning culture job to come take, not like we're a bad job, but like why would you leave something? I don't know what coach is better that it would be a springboard to come to LAFC that people would be excited about. I think Tata would be great. I think he has done some good things. Every coach is lost at some point. It's not fair. Hey, if he's our coach, I can definitely get behind that. I was very anti-Dolo when we signed Dolo at first, and then I warmed up to it, and then we won our championship, and then I was like, okay, that made sense, but we can't do that again. We have to get a coach that knows how to coach the stars that we have and to win championships, and we need that. Not USL championships, not going like 0-16 like Dolo did with the Vegas Lights. Like we need someone that has a proven track record of winning at some places. I think he could fit the bill for that.
I definitely think he does. And I think I'm going to have to reach out to Tommy from ATL. He does a great podcast over there for Atlanta. And he says how great of a coach he was, even a better player evaluator. And he's like an extra GM. Will, where do you stand on LAFC possibly getting Tata Martinez?
Well, Tata Martino is the best proven manager you could hire in MLS. I mean, the guy, you don't want to hire a coach who the team got better when he left. You want to hire a guy who the team got worse when he left. That's why I'm out on Jim Curtin. The team just broke they've had the best record that Philadelphia Union have ever had the year they get rid of Jim Curtin. So I know that there's some fans that want him, but Tata Martino leaves Inter Miami, and they're not as good as they were last year. Last year, several players are having a worse season, and the signings they've made are very questionable. He is a hell of a talent evaluator. He's the one who told them to sign Diego Gomez from a small club, well, not a small club, but a small club internationally, but a big club in Paraguay, Libertad. And he ended up being so good for Inter Miami. They sell him after a year and a half to a Premier League team, and he's been balling out in the Premier League. And so he just has this, and there's been several other examples, Miguel Almiron, Joseph Martinez. There's been several players that he's been able to discover. And I think this would be a hell of a signing. And I think the biggest thing of why it would be a good signing, other than his proven track record, is because regardless of what people say, he was forced out of Inter Miami. They forced him out. And the fact that he's coming back to coach less than a year after he had to retire due to health issues tells you that that's the case. He was forced out. It's a fact. Okay. It's known, it's known. Many people talk about it in Miami. But I think that getting a coach who is good and motivated is scary for the league. And I think that he wants to prove that he was done dirty by Inter Miami. And he has a checklist he wants to, check off before he calls it quits in coaching for good. So, and I want to say this too about Atlanta. Tata Martino holds a special place in my heart for MLS because he is the first coach to really show us that South American flair. He had essentially a whole entire starting 11 of South American players for Atlanta United back in 2017 and 2018. And that is when MLS really started to change and got this new flair or new style of play. So I think that he was revolutionary, and he's like almost like a founding father or a big piece of history for maybe not founding father, but a player that helped this league evolve to something different. And I just think this would be a home run hire. Realistically, probably the best hire they could make.
When I hear what he said, I love everything about it. And I'll tell you why, Andrew, because you have a coach. Okay. You both said something to me that rang, right? I remember when they were talking about Sonandolo and everybody was like, yo, he just lost every game in USL. Right. And then hearing what Will just said is a coach that did all this with Atlanta. And I know what Will is trying to say, because I remember LAFC was being talked about. And I remember Atlanta had just became their first season of franchise. And I really was starting trying to pay attention to MLS. And I would watch Atlanta games getting prepared to be able to know what MLS was all about, because LAFC wasn't in the league yet, right? And I was like, wow, this is crazy. Like, is this how it is? And people were like, no, that's how Atlanta plays, And I was like, oh, well, I hope LAFC is going to be like this. And so, yes, it was an exciting time for people who had been watching MLS, because Atlanta was doing stuff different. And, of course, LAFC came in. Bob Bradley was doing things different too, had an incredible year and stuff, but that is a type of guy that you're getting. And what I would say is, it's pretty cool to think like this guy, if he, Will saying he got pushed out, he's coming with a bit of an attitude. You're going to push me out? You think I can't do this? Well, let me show you what I can do, And so any team that he's coming to, he's probably saying, let me run with this and let me give you a winning team. Don't shackle me. Let me eat. And that is what we as LAFC fans want. We want a coach that wants to eat, that wants to really put a winning team out there, Andrew. And this makes me excited.
Yeah, definitely. You want someone attacking minded. You want someone that has the experience of not only building these type of rosters, but coaching them through championships as well. The Miami thing, I completely agree with Will on there. It's just a fact. You saw what happened, and that's just the power of Messi, I guess, in Miami. It would be huge. I love the revenge aspect to it. I love the comeback to MLS and show you, meet you in the final, meet Miami in the finals. Going, hey, remember me?
You can make it.
Yeah,
dude.
exactly.
It's like seriously, Will, You have a guy that's hungry that says, you pushed me out, you didn't give me a chance. I won stuff for you, but because I lost the MLS Cup, you're just going to push me out? Okay, well, let me find that other team that's going to support what I do, and I'm coming after you. That is the recipe that you want.
Well, and I want to ask you guys this. Where can you tell me an MLS coach in the market who has coached 3 national teams, has coached Barcelona, and has won an MLS Cup, won an MLS Supporter Shield with 2 different teams? Where are you going to find a guy who's done all that and knows how the league works?
Facts.
You're not going to. Guy coached Barcelona, Argentina, Paraguay, Mexico. Now, the Mexico stint, people, they say it's infamous, but let's be honest. If you're being fair, that was kind of a down talent pool for Mexico. I think that was when things were really, really bad when he was managing. So I don't really think a lot of that's his fault. Maybe some of it is. But his resume is impeccable. It is incredible. It is what you would want if you're going to hire a coach. And he plays exciting ball. The guy plays an exciting 4-3-3. He had Luis Suarez, who was 37 years old and could not run still last year. He has not changed. He's still the same player he was last year. But in his system, Luis Suarez had 20 goals, 9 assists for Tata Martino. This year, he's only got 9 goals, and with a different manager. So I just feel like he's going to bring some exciting ball to this team. He's going to be fun. I did a video talking about this earlier. It's going to be reminiscent of the Bob Bradley days rather than the Dolo days. Except this guy knows how to win rather than Bob Bradley. Bob Bradley had a lot of shortcomings. The only thing that I'm a little concerned about, guys, honestly, the only reservation I have is that Tata Martino is very, very, very partial to South American players. And LAFC loves some South American players, but they also love some European players too. Like they kind of have this wide cast net of like signing people. I just hope he doesn't get too much tunnel vision on just only signing South Americans. I hope that he's willing to sign just the best player available they possibly can get, because if he has a team full of South Americans and then Sonny and Denis, I just hope there's not something where they feel like they're being left out or that they're not going to mesh well with some of these guys.
Okay, so in the chat, I said that with Tata, I could really see Denis and Son maybe even getting a 30-30 season, like how we talked about previously, right? Now, my question is, a lot of people are like, one of our good friends said, I don't think that he will suit Denis' style. Is that a worry for either one of you? Do you think Tata's style will suit Denis, Andrew?
I think he will make. I think it will suit it very well. I'm not saying like absolutely perfect without the full knowledge of what he could do for this team, but I don't think it's gonna hold them back any worse than what they are right now.
Will, what about you? What do you think?
Absolutely not. The difference between a good manager and a bad manager is a good manager will build his system around his players. And a bad man, he'll make his players or his system fit his players, whereas Dolo makes his players fit his system. And he doesn't adapt to their best suits and their best strengths. Tata Martino will do what's ever best for the team based on the talent he has. Now, he'll bring in some reinforcements to help also, but he will put Denis Bouanga and Son Heung-Min in a position to succeed.
Well, if he does bring people, I hope he does, and that will be great. I just don't want him to let Morin go. I don't want him to let Smolskov go, and I don't want him to let Portis go, and I don't want him to let Son go or Denis go. If we keep those 5 guys and Palencia, those 6 guys, I think I'm pretty good for any of the other reinforcements that they want to do. Is there anyone that you would hope that he wouldn't let go, Andrew?
I mean, outside of what we – all the ones you had mentioned there, everyone else would be maybe Jesus. I do want to see what our midfield looks like outside of a Dolo system, but before it's really, saying that the Marquis seems off, or when Jesus was there, he didn't seem, he was very turnover prone at times. So I would just like to see our midfielders in someone else's system, but before I completely nix them, of course, Eddie Segura. whenever whenever that time comes. Part of our history. You were great, and you came back from a couple serious injuries, but it's past you now. So probably Eddie.
Outside of the six, Will, do you think that I left anyone out that he probably, that we should hope that he doesn't let go?
I'm trying to pull it up, but guys, I'm going to be honest with you. I wouldn't be surprised to see most of these guys gone. I mean, the only American or non-South American player that I can think of that started for Inter Miami last year in their playoff game was Drake Callender. I'm pretty sure the other 10 guys were all South American players. All of them were. And I want to say that in 2018, when they played in the final, there was maybe 2 or 3 Americans out of the 11. The other 8 were South American players. So I do think that there's a lot of guys that probably shouldn't leave. If Tata is the guy, there probably will be a lot of players that you wouldn't want to see leave that probably will leave because he's going to want that South American flair.
Yeah, but like I said, you got to remember, we just re-signed Tillman. We just re-signed Palencia. We brought in Morin, which hopefully we're able to keep him. That's the big question. Will we be able to keep him? Hopefully Tata says, let's keep him if this rumor mill is true. And then Portis, I want him there. I believe that he is the man. I don't want him to go anywhere. And I am a huge fan of Smolskov. So these are the guys that I hope stay. And, of course, me and Son, they can't go anywhere. Andrew,
I would think the way Smolskov plays, he gets his South American passport from Tata.
Okay,
he gets a pass there because he is electric in attacking on that side. So and he crosses well. His speed's finally catching up to his game too. I would like to think or hope that Tata would recognize that game in that man because he can bring that flair to that left side.
Will, you have something to say?
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, there was a couple guys that aren't South American, but Barca or former Barca players that started like Busquets and Alba, obviously they're not South American, they're Spaniards. But I don't know, even though that Smolskov signed an extension, man, I mean, Robert Taylor signed an extension. Kamal Miller signed an extension. They literally signed Kamal Miller to an extension, Nick, and then 3 months later they traded him. So like, I just don't think that even if you re-sign someone, I'm telling you, you just never know. I would not. The only 2 players that are safe is Son Heung-Min for sure. Denny's probably safe. I would say probably like 75%, but you just never know. I mean, I don't. He's going to want to build this team in his vision. And if he doesn't think a player fits, man, he'll get rid of him.
Well, Palencia was a Barca guy, if I'm not mistaken. Wasn't he wasn't he in their club
academy?
Academy, yeah. I believe so. So, maybe that's some of the reason why they signed him to an extension. Maybe that's already in the works. Okay, but I did say to both of you, I believe that they could make a 30-30 year. Is that a possibility for Bouanga and Son under a Tata Martinez? Andrew?
I think one of them for sure. Two of them is kind of crazy, but at least one of them, I think it's feasible.
Crazy is my middle name. I want it to be crazy. So I want the 30-30 from both, Will. Do you think it can happen?
I don't know if it can happen next year because they're going to miss a bunch of games. Well, at least Son Heung-Min is going to because of the World Cup. So I don't. So I think if they played like a full season or at least like 30 games, yeah, I think they could, because Messi scored 21 goals in 19 games last year under him, and Suarez scored 20 goals in 21 games. So they were scoring almost a goal a game. So and those guys are way older. Obviously, Messi's still great, but way older than Denis and Sonny. So, it's just going to be tough, man. It's going to be tough. But I do think they both will at least score 20 plus, maybe 25.
When does MLS go to the European schedule?
27.
Why can't it happen now?
Because it's the MLS.
Why can't it happen now? Why do we have to wait so long? You know what I mean?
Well,
like World Cup year, why wouldn't you go on and change it then? That just doesn't make any sense.
So I was told the reason they haven't changed it now is because they didn't want to have some type of weird thing before the World Cup where guys maybe you're like, oh, I don't want to play in this because you're going to have to play some weird little tournament to take a break before the new season starts in August. So they're going to have to do something from February to May, something weird and new. Some guys are like, look, man, I don't want to do that before the World Cup. This is, they only happens every 4 years. If that's the case, I'm just going to go somewhere else. I'm going to go on loan or I don't want to be here. So they don't want to do anything that's going to piss anyone off before the World Cup. So they're going to do it afterwards so that they can kind of get weird with it or experiment and try how they're going to do this weird half season before they make the switch. But that's what I was told is they didn't want to do anything that could screw anything up or have anyone blame them for some weird season before the World Cup.
So Harry is saying, wait, MLS plays regular season during games during the World Cup?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how they wouldn't. I don't think they can really. I mean, they already only play 8 months of the year, and they really don't even play that because they take breaks. It's more like 7 months of the year is the only time they're playing games. So if they only play 7 months, February through October, there's only 7 months of them actually playing. I don't know how they can afford to take 6 weeks off. I mean, how are they going to take 6 weeks off and not play any games?
That is, Andrew. What in the world are we talking
about? I remember we're having
the World Cup.
Yeah, I believe Leagues Cup is happening too as well.
Yes.
Yeah. What the heck?
Yeah.
Leagues Cup's going to happen right after the World Cup, but I want to say this too. Last year, they played MLS regular season games during Copa America and the Euros 2024.
Mm-hmm.
That's Messi missed and Suarez missed 9 games last summer because of Copa America. 9 games. They missed 1/3 of their season almost because of the tournament.
I'm not a fan. And I just got to say, I think this is absolutely stupid. And I'm just being honest. You're going to change it in 2027, but you're not going to change it in 2026 when we have a World Cup in the States. You're going to have these teams play. And also, by the way, let's throw in the Leagues Cup, a tournament during the World Cup. What are we talking about here? That is bizarre. Yes, it is stupid. It is very stupid. A money grab. You hit it right on the nail. I'm as shocked as you guys in the chat. I honestly thought we were stopping. I had no idea this is real. What the heck? Andrew, you knew this?
I knew about Leagues Cup for sure. I just couldn't recall off the top of my head how many games that they were saying would be missed with the World Cup. But yeah, the Leagues Cup thing is a joke. Like, just let it go. Like,
well, I think Leagues Cup is going to be played after the World Cup. It's not going to be played during, but no one's going to care about it because the World Cup just happened. They're like, well, I don't really care about this tournament. I've already watched the best tournament you possibly can watch when it comes to soccer. I'm not going to care about Leagues Cup. So they're going to go right from the World Cup to Leagues Cup, essentially. And that's what they did last year after Euros and they did in the Copa America. Nobody cared about Leagues Cup last year because there's just too much. There is a certain thing, as much as you love soccer, there is a fatigue. You have to have some type of break or you're not going to miss it.
I'm not gonna lie to y'all. Honestly, I don't even really know what to say. Like, that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. You're going to change it the year after the World Cup.
Pull up Harry's comment right there.
Not for it. July 19th, who is going to MLS games when the World Cup is going on? I mean, it's going to almost be like COVID games. It's going to be empty. You're going to literally hear them talking on the pitch because everybody else is going to be trying to get a ticket to the World Cup. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. Guys, I'm shocked. I really don't know what to say. I don't even know where to go from here on the show.
Us people with season tickets. Us people with season tickets are going, or we're either selling our tickets for like $10 each. It's
maybe not even give them away.
But you know what? Also, that's bullcrap for you.
Yeah.
You have to pay for these games.
Yeah.
Dude, It is very crazy, and I feel bad for you, Andrew, to have to pay for these tickets of a season ticket holder to say, well, hold on, I'm also trying to go watch the U.S. play, or I'm trying to go watch Korea, whatever you're going to watch, but yet now I'm stuck into this daggum ticket for LAFC of a game that no one really is going. I mean, yes, we love LAFC, but no one is going to care to watch it during the World Cup. I just can't believe it. Don has really screwed up on this. Absolutely no way this should be happening. I hope he gets it together. Now we know why they don't raise prices for coming season. Exactly. I'm partying for my 401k for the World Cup tickets, not MLS. David, you shouldn't have to borrow off of that because those prices are outrageous, and that's also a shame that the World Cup prices are that high. But you're right. This is just crazy. I'm a ride or die, baby. Okay, yeah, you can be a ride or die, but still, it's not going to be full. The 32-52 all of them aren't going to be there. They're going to have to make that choice. I mean, look at Andrew. You know,
they just might make some of those games like the general admission games, like they do for like Open Cup and stuff, maybe. Because I don't know how they're planning to or have the mindset that place will be filled.
Let me look this up real quick because I'm just curious. So the 2022 World Cup was a little different because it was in Qatar and it was in the winter time, so it's a little different. But the last summer one was 2018. They played. I just pulled up random team. I pulled up Toronto FC just because it's the one that came up. So during the World Cup in 2018, Toronto FC played 6 matches during the World Cup in 2020 or in 2018. And it's, you know, some of these teams now have players playing in the World Cup. They always have, but there's, you know, some big time players playing in MLS. Why would you want to miss your players?
It's wild to think that amount of games that, you know, could really determine how your season looks in where you are in the standings can be left up to that.
Absolutely.
I mean, 106 games. That is, I mean, guys, we just said a minute ago, 6 games for LAFC. Denis Bouanga scored 10 goals in those 6 games to put him into the Golden Boot race. And you're talking about him missing that. He doesn't even have the chance at the Golden Boot race. Put that in perspective.
Hey, guys, I actually have to run.
Yeah,
I got a pregnant wife calling me. But listen, I appreciate you guys for having me on. Make sure you like this stream down below if you guys haven't already. Help Nick out, help Andrew out. Best LAFC podcast there is, and make sure you give him a subscription if you haven't. He's trying to hit 2,000.
No, we're trying to hit 3. We're trying to hit 3,000, buddy. We're 15 subs away from hitting 3,000 or 1,300. So guys, if you haven't, make sure you hit that like, subscribe, notification so you don't miss anything LAFC. We appreciate you guys being here with us. You could have been anywhere for this hour, but you chose it to be here with us at the VOBG, and we're just going to end it here because I really don't know what to say after that. I'm really shocked, and I can't believe MLS is going to do that. That's absolutely ridiculous. But nonetheless, boys, guys, I appreciate y'all being here with me. Andrew, Will, thank y'all for being here. Tony, we miss you, man. But I know you're doing well for your sister's team. I think they're undefeated right now, so he's killing it. But guys, thank y'all so much for being here. LAFC, LA is still black as always, black and gold. Let's go. I can't even talk. I'm so out of it.
Only a few more